The canyons of Arizona, the parks of Wyoming, the mountains of Utah. In America's most forgotten time zone, there lie several hidden gems worth discussing. One of these being the Denver Nuggets. Though they aren't the Clippers, or the Lakers, or the Nets, the Nuggets have quietly built a team worthy of contending for an NBA championship. And while they certainly are no Cinderella story, I still believe they aren't getting the respect they deserve when it comes to discussing the top teams in the NBA. With a game-breaking style, tremendous coaching, and elite homegrown talent, the Denver Nuggets have been able to turn what was a middling franchise into one of the best in the NBA. And the crazy thing is, they're just getting started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Gold Rush. We've all heard of the butterfly effect, which basically states that every tiny event or decision yields an infinite amount of possibilities in the future. The tiniest ripple can have astronomical effects. It's clear, though, that some events are thought to have bigger effects than others. The 41st pick in the 2014 NBA draft was not supposed to be one of these moments. During a seemingly innocuous Taco Bell commercial, some guy from Serbia named Nikola Jokic was drafted by the Nuggets in the second round, and nobody really batted an eye. In fact, Jokic was an afterthought compared to the Nuggets' first-round acquisitions of Gary Harris and Jusuf Nurkic. However, as time would have it play out, here we are 7 years later. Nikola Jokic, as many of us have now learned to pronounce, is now a multi-time All-Star, an MVP, and a truly transcendent force that is breaking the game of basketball. And behind him, the Nuggets have managed to build a team ready to win an NBA championship right now. Recently in the NBA, there's been a movement toward heliocentrism, and while we've known for quite a while now that the sun is the center of our known universe, basketball is finally getting up to speed. At 7 feet, 284 pounds, Jokic is dominant in every sense of the word offensively. He's not the most explosive, and yes, he's been compared to a walrus more than once on Twitter, but he's effective, like, really effective. Jokic's true shooting percentage in 2021 was 64.7% as he shot 56.8% from the floor, 38% from 3, and 87% from the free throw line. Around the basket, Jokic hit around 65% of his attempts and was a force in the paint. Because of his size, defenders just can't move him. It might be rather simplistic to say, but you can't stop what you can't move. And when you combine his sheer physical mass with his exceptional touch and footwork, you get an unstoppable force. Jokic's scoring effectiveness also comes away from the basket. We've all seen his crazy one-foot fadeaways that somehow go in, and this has become a key part of his game. Jokic is an expert in setting up his defenders and operating where they can't contest him. Because of how massive he is, he's able to create space both vertically and horizontally, which opens up so much of his offensive game. What makes Jokic truly heliocentric, though, is his passing. Watching Denver is a unique, kind of mind-bending experience. They don't play super fast, they are very half-court oriented, and everything runs through this 7-foot walrus. You'll often see him initiating dribble handoffs with shooters, using his scoring gravity to open up cutting lanes, and picking apart double teams when he's in the post. And when Denver does decide to get out in transition, it can yield some pretty impressive results.
Got when you shot 100%. Look at this.
Long lead, Dozier, yes!
Houston went sound asleep, and Joker with, 2 seconds to go in the half, throws it on a dime. Larry Walker, Hall of Famer, said, 9 kids? You got time.
Still, Jokic's feel for the game with the ball in his hands makes him perhaps the most dangerous offensive player in the NBA. If you put a defender on an island with him, he can physically outmaneuver you for easy layups. If you send a double, he can find a vulnerability in the defense almost immediately. He has range away from the basket, so you can't leave him open from deep. And when you play up on him, he can thread the needle with a pinpoint pass to cutters off the ball. Jokic is a well-oiled machine that helped Denver achieve a top 10 offensive rating this past season, despite missing several key players due to injury for significant parts of the season. Give Jokic a full cast of characters, and you're looking at a Tony Award-winning musical. Surrounding Jokic isn't an easy task. For such a gifted player, it's a challenge to put the correct pieces around him because he's so unique. I mean, going back through history, there really isn't any precedent for building around 7-foot, 284-pound point centers with game-breaking passing ability and punishing scoring packages. I do think the Nuggets have done just as well as anyone could have hoped for, though. In Jamal Murray, Denver has an electrifying scoring combo guard who has shown real flashes of elite, team-carrying performances in high-pressure situations. While Murray is coming back from an ACL tear that sidelined him for part of the regular season and then the entire playoffs, the optimism is there for the 24-year-old to make a full recovery around the new year. Murray is perfect for Jokic because of his off-ball movement. He knows how to get open and is great at using Jokic's leverage to his own advantage. and if there's a situation where Murray has to create on his own, he's shown he can do it. If you've known me for a while, you'd know just how much I love Michael Porter Jr. In fact, here's a video of me reacting to the 2018 NBA draft when the Chicago Bulls passed on MPJ to take Wendell Carter Jr.
Why? Why? There's a star on the board. Michael Porter Jr. is a star. He's a star.
Not to brag, but it turns out I was right. We could have had a star. And while Porter Jr. ended up falling to 14, it's clear that the 6'10 scorer is a top 5 or 6 player from his draft class. Since he made his debut in 2019, Porter has pretty much lit nets on fire. Shooting 43.9% for his career, he's about as automatic as it gets from 3, and while he's mainly been used in a catch-and-shoot role for Denver, lately he's shown that ability to create off the dribble that made him such an unreal high school prospect. Outside of his shooting and scoring, Porter's intuitiveness off the ball elevates him as an offensive threat next to Jokic. He's clearly taken the biblical mindset of ask and you shall receive. When Porter cuts, Jokic finds him for easy layups, thus incentivizing Porter to move off the ball and get himself open, which he's shown a clear ability to do. For Denver, this is a match made in heaven. The thing with Denver's big three is that none of them are older than 26. The championship window for these 3 players is just opening right now, and all 3 players are under contract until at least 2023, and I really don't think Jokic is going anywhere. These 3 hold the keys for the Nuggets moving forward, and as long as they are in place, it's hard to imagine a universe where Denver isn't a title threat. So now the question becomes, how do you enhance one of the best young trios in the NBA? To me, you focus on 2 things: versatility and basketball IQ. The Nuggets have lasered in on these 2 aspects when filling out the rest of their roster. Aaron Gordon, Jeff Green, and JaMychal Green are combo forwards who can space the floor and provide switchability defensively. Facundo Campazzo and Monte Morris are 2 of the smartest bench guards in the game. Both Morris, with his refusal to turn the ball over, and Campazzo, with his flashy, dynamic passing ability, add to this team's already high feel for the game. Will Barton and Austin Rivers are 2 savvy veterans, with Barton offering his skills as a perimeter defender and play connector, and Rivers with his microwave scoring. And if Denver struggles with injuries as they did last year, they have guys even deeper on their bench that have shown to provide impactful minutes. Remember Marcus Howard? He went from undrafted to playoff minutes, and he actually held his own. With first-round pick Bones Highland, who's looked great in the preseason, they add another shooter with high-level passing who should thrive in the minutes he gets next to Jokic. Denver's struggles, though, will come defensively. None of Jokic, Murray, or Porter are great defenders, and they maybe could even be classified as bad. But head coach Mike Malone managed to get Denver to 11th in defensive rating last year, and they've gotten more versatile and more athletic in this offseason. It's often difficult to identify 1 in a million teams in the NBA. Whether it be roster construction, play style, or something else, every team has a base level of similarity to one another. But Denver, I feel like, might be that one. There is no other team built like them because there's no other team that has Nikola Jokic. The amount of individualized avenues that he offers Denver makes them that much more difficult to stop, and when you add another relative rarity in Michael Porter Jr., the Nuggets are pretty much striking gold that no other team has ever possessed. So what does Denver do with this gold? That remains to be seen, but I truly believe that with the Nuggets, it's not if, but when, and the NBA better be ready.